This is a modern EU midnight melody. Effin is usually always on time. Today is your older sister's 18th birthday, and it's a super formal event with fancy clothes, fancy people, fancy decor, and a lot of fancy stuff in general. Unfortunately, your best friend, Effin, is late. She's never late. She always comes early, no matter what event it is. Even if you told her to meet you in an abandoned mansion in 5 minutes, she'd be there in 3. But here she was, 20 minutes late. You checked your phone and she's online. You think about texting her, but immediately shake it off. She's gonna come, you thought. Please, please, please come. I don't want to be alone in an event with a bunch of people I never even knew I was related to. You were standing beside the entrance of the party, your eyes trained to wait for someone to come by. It's been 45 minutes till a new invited person enters the party. Right now, people are just doing whatever, drinking their martinis, talking, eating caviar, and playing poker. Boring. You sighed and looked at the door once more. Your eyes lit up and you broke into a smile. Someone's here, finally. You tried craning your neck to see who your mother invited, but they soon vanished. You narrowed your eyes, trying to envision the glimpse you saw before you felt a pat on the crown of your head. You instantly turned around and, what a surprise, Ray was here. "Well, you look happy to see me," he said teasingly. You suddenly recall your expression of excitement when you saw someone walk through the entrance, and you wanted to punch yourself in the face for that. "What are you doing here?" you asked him before looking back at the door. Wow, when that one person you don't necessarily despise, but still would ditch them if a zombie apocalypse happened, is earlier than your best friend, says a lot about yourself. He shrugged before covering his face dramatically. "Oh, I wonder. Your mom kinda invited me last minute because she said you needed an escort, so of course I accepted." "Sorry," you said. You wanted to believe you misheard, or failed your science test, or just anything but what you think you heard. You heard me correctly the first time. You needed an escort for your sister's party, so I said sure, I'll be your date. No one told you? You shook your head. Was this some kind of joke? A nightmare because your best friend is still not here, which never happens. You're a wallflower till you saw someone, but instead, Ray's here for some reason. And now he's your date? You never even needed a date in all of your years of living. Why would you need one now? Look, I even bought matching corsages, see? He shoved a lavender rose that was tucked in front of his pocket before offering to put one on your wrist. Stop, I can put it on myself, you said. You then snatched the flower and tried attaching it to your wrist. But just your luck, your hand wouldn't bear with you, and you failed to try and put it on. Here, let me help, Ray offered. You tried thinking of all the worst scenarios that could happen if you allowed him to attach the corsage. Surprisingly, your brain couldn't think of any. Alright, fine, but no funny business or I'll kick you out and find a new date or something. Relax, I'm not gonna do anything weird. Just stay still and I'll try not to prick you with a thorn. Don't want you to fall asleep in my arms for 100 years, he said. You blinked. He started carefully slipping the corsage onto your wrist. You started ranting. Okay, first of all, it was a spinning wheel, not a rose. Second, I'm not even gonna miraculously start sleeping in your arms, you said with finger quotations. He ignored you and answered, There we go. He gently patted the rosebud before looking at you. What was it you were saying? Never mind. Anyways, what do we do now, since you're my escort and all that? You said. You inspected the flowers on your wrist. It was pretty. We could, I don't know, talk? He offered. Yeah, no, you said quickly before rubbing your fingers together. Now that he's standing straight, you can finally criticize his outfit. He was wearing a black suit and a forest green tie with black dress shoes. He wore a gray waistcoat with a white dress shirt. His hair was how his hair always is, his raven black bangs covering his left eye. You yourself was wearing a blue outfit with black lace and silver jewelry. Your hair was up and in a twist while you had your belongings in a matching shoulder clutch. Once you looked back at him, he wasn't facing you but at the adults doing random activities, while the two only teenagers were just standing against a wall doing nothing in contrast. Ray's eyes proceeded to trail down onto your right hand, the one with the corsage. He took it and started tracing the tips of the petals. You felt your grip tighten on his hand, and you tried to look away as he smiled to himself. "I got a nice rose, didn't I?" he murmured to himself. "It suits you." "It does?" you replied. Ray confuses you sometimes. One minute he's the most intolerable person in the world. The next, he's likable. You looked back at the entrance door. Seriously, where is Finn? "I searched up lavender roses before I arrived here. Apparently, they symbolize enchantment and love at first sight," he said under his breath before looking back at the party. "Isn't that nice?" You looked at him in disbelief. What? Again, the most confusing person on the planet. You still didn't know what was going on with him. Whether he's testing you or doing some sort of mind game, you have no idea. But then again, you probably didn't know the meaning of them either, he said, sighing. "Oh, it was some sort of joke. You see, you really don't see it at all, though." You shook your head and raised your shoulders in response. All is fair, love and war, they say. A few minutes passed with the two of you in silence. You resorted to looking at your phones. Some date he is. "I'm bored," you said after 10 minutes of absolute awkward quietness. You probably would have enjoyed it at school, but at a social event, it's just not something that you'd vibe with. "Then do something," he replied back. He was scrolling through his phone. Discreetly, you peeked over his shoulder. Ray was on Instagram, looking through his feed. He liked food posts, apparently. It's the only thing he was liking. "I know you're right next to me," he said without even looking up. You immediately backed away out of embarrassment. He put his phone in his pocket, while you refused to acknowledge his existence. Whatever. You have me mistaken anyway," you stammered. You quickly hid your face in your hands, because you again felt your cheeks flush. "Are you that lonely? Touch-starved?" he teased. Everything he said felt like a sword getting stabbed through your chest. It's alright. Everyone wants me nowadays, even you." Your eyes widened. "Where do you get that from? This guy? What kind of reasoning is that?" you said defensively. He, of course, didn't respond or say anything. Out of all the people in the whole wide world, your mom picks him to be your escort? Why you? Why your life? After 2 more minutes of silence, you decide to speak once more. "You know you're an asshole, right?" He smirked. "And you're not as distant as everyone thinks you are," he answers without looking at you. "You're also a jerk," you fire back. "Oh, it's on. If you didn't know, Effin is now an hour late, so I've been told," he replied, chuckling. You watched as Ray glanced at the steel dancing recipients. "You're the most idiotic person I've ever met," he responded once more. "That's not what my grades say," he answers again. Does nothing bother him? You were speechless because he always had some smooth cover-up no matter what you said. However, before you could speak, he beat you to it. "Is it my turn to insult now?" he said, smiling. He leaned down toward you. "You swear if he mentions anything about your height, I think you're really cute." Those words took a few seconds to register in your mind. When you finally realized, he started laughing. You guessed your face had some sort of expression. That's not even a valid insult," you said before he started walking away from you. You quickly followed. "Where are you going?" you said behind him. He kept walking and looking forward. "Why do you want to know?" he asked. "Are you that interested in me?" You scoffed. "No, it's just that dates are supposed to be with each other at all times," you explained softly. "That's all." You stopped walking. You were now on the very right side of the venue next to the desserts. "I see. I'm just going to check the dessert table, probably to steal some mini cakes or something as well," Ray answered, turning around to look at you. You nodded. You didn't even get to try the sweets because you were too busy waiting at the door. You looked at the lemon drop cookies that seemed to be calling your name. Did you eat any of the desserts yet? He asked. Can he read your mind? You shook your head. No, not yet. You responded. He made an audible hum before replying. He grabbed a tiny raspberry jelly sugar cookie. Here, open wide, he said. You were about to refuse and intervene, but he took this opportunity to shove it in your mouth. You chewed the cookie while narrowing your eyes at him. Why'd you do that for? You exclaimed after swallowing it. He laughed again before answering. You looked like you wanted to try it. Was it good? He asked. Yeah, it tasted like a jelly donut. It was, you admitted. I bet because I fed it to you. He replied. You have something on your face, by the way, he said nonchalantly. A minute later, you immediately started brushing your right cheek but couldn't feel or find the crumb or piece of dirt. What do you mean? No, I don't, you said, still trying to find what you had on your face. It's jelly on the left side, maybe from the cookie, Ray answered, still not looking at you. This time you tried wiping your left side, but still couldn't find the stain. Ray, what are you talking about? There's no stain. You were cut off by Ray stroking the side of your face with his thumb. There. Good as new, he said as his hand still lightly touched your cheek. You're welcome. You then shook off his hand and looked back at the event. That was weird. Stop it, you're gonna give me acne, you said, checking your phone. You watched as Ray wiped his finger on a linen napkin. If Effin doesn't come in the next 10 minutes, you're gonna start calling her. I tell you I enjoy the way the light dances in your eyes, but you'd probably murder me afterward, he said, glimpsing at you. Really? You said sarcastically while rolling your eyes. You kind of smiled from that compliment, though, because it was quite sweet, like the cookie. What time is it, by the way? You asked, still slightly unsettled from the dessert incident. 11:30, I think, he answered, looking at the ivory grandfather clock. Great. Effin is 3 hours late. You sighed, bored. You heard Ray clear his throat. You turned around and he gestured one of his arms. You have a bad feeling you know where this is about to go, since we both have nothing to do at the moment. Wyan, may I have this dance? He asked politely. Of course, this was going to happen eventually. Now that there's clearly no more activities, one might not hurt. And this is for the better. You can't stick out like a sore thumb. You gotta blend in. I guess I have no choice, you said with a slightly annoyed but pleased expression. It's been a while since someone asked you to dance. He smiled and took your right hand and led you to the ballroom floor. You tried to ignore the faces of your relatives. Ray bowed and you curtsied. The orchestra started playing Howl's Moving Castle. The familiar chords rang in your head as Ray and you got to the correct position. It started slow, as you remembered. You went around with each other dancing a couple of times. You kept your eyes trained on his as you tried recalling the numerous classes you took. The intro slowly quieted until the waltz came. The tempo got quicker. You looked to your left and noticed everyone was revolving around the ballroom. You dipped slightly to the left before straightening up. You said quietly, just so he could hear. Ray only smirked and held you closer. You don't know a lot of things about me. You were about to respond, but noticed everyone separating and heading to the right. You followed suit and started waltzing with a random stranger until the next music changed. You were twirled 3 times before moving on to someone else. You looked over to the person's shoulder. Ray was currently dancing with another relative of yours, while moving on to different people. It'd been 5 minutes of moving on to different partners that you eventually got used to it, until you were met with your original escort. Good to have you back, Ray said. The music then changed once more to a more cheerful tune. You adapted and did what everyone else was doing, which were dancing toward the right now. Then the interlude transformed, and you dipped inside the circle and outside the circle before he spun you to the side, twirling you back in. You repeated that system another time. You kept your eyes to your feet, trying to reminisce the pattern of steps. Right, left, 2, 3. You kept repeating in your head. You focused on Ray's eyes. They were dark, but they had a mischievous light inside them. The quicker part and reprise passed. You expected the best part of the song to come. The orchestra rang loudly as the crescendo rose, slowing down a bit. The violins played with the piano. You hummed along with the melody. You looked back at him after gazing at the other couples and immediately looked down at your shoes. Were his eyes always so easy to get lost into? Stop that, you whispered as you danced. Stop what? He inquired. You were surprised he didn't know what you were talking about. That thing with your eyes, you said quietly. You looked down. I'm not doing anything with my eyes, he exclaimed softly. The song was nearing its end. Oh, whatever. You dismissed? You noticed him grinning slightly as the song slowed down slightly until the really fast measures. He has a nice smile, you have to admit. It compliments him. Ray then spun you in a little circle until stopping completely. The waltz ended. You took a deep breath. That took a lot of your energy out. You started walking out of the ballroom floor to check your phone when you felt a familiar touch on your shoulder. You turned around, and of course it was Ray. You yourself said that dates are supposed to be with each other at all times, he said as you were scrolling through your phone. You ignored him and continued looking through your feed. It's currently 11:45 p.m. You guess Effin didn't come after all. Ryan, tell me the truth. Do you hate me? He said curiously. You met his eyes while you processed his question thoughtfully. No, I don't, you said, shaking your head slowly. He seemed to be genuinely confused with your answer, for he said, Oh, then why are we always arguing at every given opportunity? He asked, looking directly at you. You were leaning against the wall. I don't know, you said honestly. I guess it's because we never agree on stuff. He rolled his eyes. Ah, what a shame. Who knows? Maybe in an alternate universe we could have gotten along. Yeah, I wish, you said, thinking aloud. You really did want to be his friend, but the world's never fair. A few minutes later, Ray asked you another question. Hey, Ryan, do you have a crush on me? He asked, gazing at the crowd. You glanced at him quickly. What kind of question was that? No, you answered. Why do you think I do? He looked toward you, his eyes piercing intensely through your skull. You crossed your arms. Because of how you act. At school, we're on two different sides of the playing field, but when we're alone together, you try to find a way to talk to me. Remember when I called you touch-starved earlier? That's a perfect example, he stated. Or how I asked you to dance tonight? You didn't refuse either. But that doesn't mean anything. I'm not in love with you, you exclaimed. But here's the thing, he said, cornering you into a wall. He put one arm over you. If you really weren't infatuated with me, you would have never dealt with me being your escort. But you accepted nonetheless. You pushed him. No, I said I don't have anything for you. He smirked. Keep lying to yourself, or soon you'll realize all this time that you are in love with yours truly. I do not, you replied once more, but the more he talked, the less you believed in the truthfulness of your words. Do you really like him? He sighed while pinching the bridge of his nose. Tell you what, I'll tell you a secret you might want to know if you're not going to admit your feelings, he whispered. I like you too, Ryan. Even if we despise each other. He straightened up after quickly kissing your cheek. Your face turned red as you saw him walk away. You immediately touched the spot where his lips met your face. I'm just gonna pretend that never happened, and hopefully when I wake up tomorrow I'll forget this whole night, you thought as you watched Ray talk to your mom. See you soon, Ryan. Good night, you heard him yell. He waved at you. Oh, he's leaving now. Wait, what are you saying? You got ready to go home when you heard a female voice behind you. So, you and Ray, huh? Effin, where were you this whole time? Extended ending. Yeah, so I kind of set this whole thing up. I had to get my ship together somehow, she said. Looks like I did. I'm so awesome, she said proudly. I still can't believe you asked my mom to pair me up with Ray and completely left me for the entire night, you said, frustrated. Well, it was worth it. I got to see you two interact like lovebirds. A Wattpad in the making. Do what you want, I said. I'll still never like him no matter what kind of antics you try. When you look at her once more, she had a determined expression. I'll change that. I'll take that as a challenge, and I'm gonna win. There is another part to this, so if you guys would like to see that, please like this video, share and comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm gonna peace out and go edit this video. Have an amazing evening, have an amazing afternoon, have an amazing morning, whenever you are, and I'll see you guys when I see you guys. Goodbye everyone.